You or someone you know is looking to rent an apartment anytime soon in the United States of America, good luck.
Hello, welcome to Finance Convos. First, before we get into this video, I just want to say that I appreciate you all for your support. And if you're new here, please subscribe if you're interested in finance convos, videos about the economy, or what's going on in America. So I'm gonna keep this video short so we can get right into it.
You or someone you know is looking to rent an apartment anytime soon in the United States of America, good luck. Because it sucks. It's horrible. Just to qualify for a lot of these apartments, you need 3, 4, or 5 times the monthly rent in income monthly. Just to qualify. And if you don't, you need a guarantor. You're lucky enough to have someone in your family, a friend, someone who's willing to be a guarantor for you. They better be making 5, 6, or 7 times that monthly rent in income. That's across the board. And even then, they're not going to make it easy for you. They want everything from you. They want bank statements, pay stubs, tax information. You need to submit tax information because you're self-employed or you own your business. 2 years of tax information, and the only way they will accept it is through email. Through email. So you've crossed your T's, you've dotted your I's, you have all of the information that you could need, you're gonna submit it, you have all of the monthly income requirements, all of that is good. You go, you tour an apartment, they show you one, they say this is great, it's in your price range, it's unlisted, it's a deal of a lifetime. Come to find out that that apartment is undergoing renovations for 4 months. And by the time it's available, the price is gonna be about $300 more a month than you thought. Do you have a question about your application? Did something go wrong with the online portal? Ooh, that sucks because they're not gonna return your calls and they also don't care. The system is broken and rigged and awful. I can't understand how anybody actually gets an apartment these days, especially anyone who makes, I don't know, a normal service industry income. You're never living alone in your entire life. It's never gonna happen. You can't afford to. It's not possible. You don't qualify for a place if you're just trying to get by yourself. It's unbelievable how rigged it is. It's awful.
$2,000 a month, and my rent is $1,660.
Sadly, this is getting to be the story of pretty much everybody out there. I haven't rented since I was in my 20s, so I've been out of the housing market forever on this shit. But I tried to help my niece get a place about 6, 8 months ago, something like that. And she was telling me everything she found was $1,900, $2,300, and I'm like, Jesus Christ, sweetheart, you just let me look for you. There's something out there, $500, $600 a month that's decent. I'll find it. There's not. Like, how? I mean, why? Why did we get to this point? Why is just a decent place to sleep and cook and survive, exist? Why is it $3,000, $4,000 a fucking month? I mean, it's ridiculous. Something's got to change. Otherwise, we're going to end up with half the country homeless.
Rent is so expensive that minimum wage workers need 3 roommates or 4 jobs to afford a 2-bedroom apartment. In fact, there's not a single state in America where a minimum wage worker that's full-time can afford a 2-bedroom apartment. So look at this for example. If you live in Alabama where the minimum wage is $7.25 an hour, you'd have to work 90 hours a week to afford a 2-bedroom. Now you would need to work 74 hours a week to afford the average 1-bedroom apartment in Alabama at the minimum wage. So someone explained to me why we're pretending that workers are the problem when it's the corporations that are arbitrarily pushing up prices on rent, food, laying off workers, all to maximize their profits. Like, how is this system that we're currently living in sustainable?
I would have to disagree that $2,100 a month is damn cheap. And a lot of people have commented this, but it's just not true. So I'm going to explain why. The national average salary in the United States right now is $59,000, and $59,000 after taxes, your take home every month is about $3,800. So if you are a household or a single person living off of that one salary, that rent right there is more than half of what you're making. And that's just the average. So of course there's going to be people that are well below the average who cannot even afford a $2,100 rent that you guys are saying is cheap. Now, I'm not ungrateful at all. I'm blessed that we are able to afford this $2,100 of rent, which we got at this rate because we moved during COVID, during the height in 2020. We moved there in 2020 during the height of COVID, and they were having a really good deal because they were desperate to get people in. Now, unfortunately, that rent is about $3,000. But why are we normalizing? Why are we normalizing $2,100 a month of rent as being cheap when the majority of people in the United States don't even make enough to afford this type of rent? So many people have roommates. So many people who are families and have multiple children are living in an apartment instead of living in a house, which is what we are saving for. We're never going to own this apartment. We're all just throwing our money away, renting instead of buying. We have no buying power right now as millennials and as Gen Zers. Why aren't we able to afford to buy things like the generations before us did? How come we're the ones that are screwed? I was born and raised in California. It's not going to be possible for me to buy a home here because the average price of houses here, and these are old houses, like 1950s houses, is about $700,000. I thought I made decent money. Last year was the most I ever made, right? I thought that we would be able to afford a house. We're not going to be able to afford a house that's almost $1 million. It's just not going to happen. So I understand people saying $2,100 is cheap. It's not cheap. It's cheaper than other places, but we are all of us are being overcharged for rent, and these houses are insanely expensive, and there's like no chance of most people ever even being able to afford to buy a house in their lifetime. That's sad.
Hear me out here. I feel like landlords and anybody that's trying to rent out their home should be required to have a minimum of 3 references of somebody that lived in the home for a substantial period of time. The references should say the conditions that the property was in when they moved in, anything that went wrong in the property, any type of damages that had to get fixed, whether or not the landlord or the owner actually took care of it, or if it came out of their pockets, and how overall they were treated. Because I feel like there's a lot of fuckery out in that business. I feel like there's a lot of scheming, and I feel like renters are often fucked. So I propose this, and I hope that it takes off.
How are we supposed to buy a house when my rent is going up another $195 a month? It has gone up $720 in 4 years for the same place that I live in. $8,640 a year more for the same place I lived in 4 years ago. I'm sorry, property taxes are not going up that much that landlords are charging that much more. We have to stop blaming the economy, the government, the president. It is greedy people taking more profits in. When people tell you, just move somewhere else, why would I move to another state that's cheaper? Why should I have to uproot my family, lose my career, just to afford to live somewhere? You're implying people who live in where I live now don't deserve a fair shot at cost of living. And places with cheaper rent pay lower salaries. That's how this whole thing works for the most part. And my girlfriend's a teacher. Like, if she moves to a state with a cheaper cost of living, she might not even have a pension or her benefits anymore. Instead of telling the middle class to keep, looking somewhere cheaper, why don't you all align together and get people out of control that are doing this to us? You are always closer to being homeless than you are to being rich. Everyone just assumes one day they're going to get rich. And that's why they don't stand up for people just like them in the struggle right now. If not for the raise I got 4 years ago, I would be totally screwed. I don't even want a handout or help. I just want things to not be so crazy expensive every year. Go buy pizza from where I work. Go buy my merchandise. I don't know. Not a handout, just advertising.
I say what y'all want to say. These apartments, houses, is ridiculous. How do they want you to make 3 times the rent to rent an apartment? That means if the apartment is $1,500, you must make $4,500 per month in order to qualify for that apartment. Y'all can quit with the shenanigans because the USA is overrated. It's nothing but a debt trap. We can start with the loans, the mortgages, the credit card bills, the car companies, the banks. We can go there.
I want to know who they're pricing these expensive ass apartments for. Who are they pricing it for? Because there's no way that I can't find a 1-bedroom, 1-bathroom for lower than $2,300 that's actually decent. No roaches, no rats. We should not be in a state where minimum wage workers have to live with 3 to 4 people in order to afford to live. Everyone at minimum should be able to afford to live alone. Period.
How back in the day they used to have rent parties to help somebody who was short on the rent or whatever. They all chip in a couple of dollars. People will come over. Baby, this why we don't do that. We can't do that because everybody need help on their rent. Everybody need help on their rent. Shit, and that's how y'all know it should be a motherfucking problem.
Make 3 times the rent when these jobs ain't paying nobody nowhere near 2 times.
My rent here is $1,400 a month, and they want you to make 3 times the rent. I need you to fully grasp that shit and understand what the fuck I just said. How much you need to be making in order to live where I live. And they don't ever fix shit. Maintenance don't come through. If I was to do y'all a walkthrough, actually I might just do a walkthrough about this apartment complex, because y'all really need to see this shit. Because like, they don't fix shit, they don't do shit, they don't respond to anything on time, but they'll let you know 3 days early when the rent is due, ahead of time. For what? Yo, they gonna always want their money, but they don't fix shit. I complained about a light in my bathroom not working months ago when I moved in here. They just came by and still didn't fix it. I told them my toilet was fucked up a month ago. They just came by and barely fixed that shit. It's still leaking. Most of the shit in here I have to fix myself. And these be the apartments that be wanting 3 times the rent. Why do you deserve 3 times the rent? Let's start there. Why do you want 3 times the rent too? Let's even go further. Most jobs don't pay you enough to make 3 times the rent. Look, as long as I got the money to pay for the deposit, the fees, and the everything in between, the deposit, all that shit, if I got the money for that, why does it matter how much I make? The money is getting paid to you, is it not? Why do I need to make 3 times the rent? That is the most ill-conceived, illogical, broken bullshit system I have ever seen, and they're going to keep doing it. Even with people moving out. Listen, people move out of here once a week. Like every week there's a new U-Haul truck here moving somebody out. You know what I see the next day? A moving truck with them moving somebody in. They don't fix shit, they don't do shit, they don't move shit, and yet they want 3 times the rent? Really? Y'all apartments got some audacity, that's for fucking sure. Because y'all are, what are y'all doing with this money? Y'all want 3 times the rent. Everybody paying their rent on time. What y'all doing with that money? Why do y'all need 3 times the rent? That's all I need.
There's one video of mine that needs to do well. It's this one. This is the first month I won't be able to afford rent. I'm not a rich person. I don't have a lot of stuff. I have basic household necessities, a couch, a bed, washer, a dryer. That's about it. A car. I don't have a lot of lavish things. I don't go on vacations, and I don't spend a lot. Rent's increased from $1,300 to $1,800. The food prices are too high. I've cut back on eating because I literally cannot afford food. I've cut back on my favorite snacks, cat food, treats. I'm exhausted all the time from being overworked and underpaid. You don't catch a break when you grow up poor. I don't need much to be happy. I just want to be able to live comfortable. I just really need to catch a break right now. I'm trying so hard and I feel like I'm not doing enough. I don't have family. I don't have anything to fall back on. I just need one video to blow up and it could be life-changing for me.
Okay, so I have a question. I've been applying to apartments for the past couple of months because, you know, baby M is coming soon. My boyfriend's living with me at my mom's house right now, and we just need our own space. But every time I apply for an apartment, they be asking for like $45 for our application fee, $55 for our application fee, which doesn't make any sense because a lot of people are saying that I shouldn't pay no more than like $25 for our application. So technically this whole time, they've been overcharging me for our application, and they've been declining on my applications because every single time I do an application, they accept somebody else. And I just feel like it's because, you know, I'm still young and whatever. But yeah, I just feel like this is like the craziest shit now. Like, it is hard as fuck to find an apartment now in this generation. Like, it's not easy. It's not fucking flowers and rainbows no more. Like, they be asking for credit checks. They want you to pay $55 for application fee. They ask you for where you're working at. And then on top of that, you have to make 3 times more of what you're making for the rent. Like, a minimum wage job is not covering 3 times more than rent now. Like, the rent is fucking ridiculous. Like, there should be no reason why studio apartments are like almost $1,000. And they literally have like nothing at all. I saw a studio apartment that was like $900 and something, and the fridge was a fucking mini fridge from Walmart. Like, BFFR. Oh my god. Housing is also really strict as well, because I definitely had housing, and the housing that I have, they were assholes. They were rude. They didn't care about how you felt. Like the caseworkers were rude. Like, they genuinely don't care about their tenants' feelings for housing. But that's besides the point. I know a lot of people who are like fucking 34, 35 living with their parents. Like, getting an apartment is not easy now, and this shit is fucking crazy. Like, even with Section 8, because, babe, I got approved for Section 8. But it's hard to find an apartment with Section 8. And I only have until fucking March to find a fucking apartment. And every single apartment that I apply to and I look at, it either got roaches, mice, it just looks fucking shitty, and I don't even get accepted to it. So it's like, what the fuck? All I could do is pray. But this ain't easy.
I'm honestly so upset. Living in America is freaking ridiculous right now. There are people choosing whether they want to have Christmas gifts or pay their rent, and that might not be different from any other year. 2 to 3 grand on average. You need to make 2 to 3 times that. $9,000 a month. How many people with regular bachelor degrees are even making that? No one. Not a lot of people. No one wants to live with roommates. That's not the answer. Everybody deserves a safe and clean space. There's no reason why so many people should be roommating, or you can't even buy yourself your own house. It's not, this is horrible.
If you want cheap rent without getting a roommate, there's only 2 options available. So for your first option, if you want a cheap apartment, is you have to move to far, far away land. You have to move to a small ass town where everybody goes to Walmart for fun. There's nothing to do and you'll be bored as hell, but your rent will be $35 a month. Your second option, if you want cheap rent, is your roommate is probably going to be rats and roaches. Your car's going to get broken into. You're probably going to get shot. But at least your city's a lot of fun and there's a lot of things to do in your city. And this is why I think renting is such a very unfair concept. I have a friend who's paying $2,500 a month for a 2-bedroom, 2-bathroom apartment in Miami, Florida. Then I have another friend who's paying $800 for a 2-bedroom, 2-bathroom apartment in a small town in South Carolina. Both apartments are pretty much the same size. The only difference is location. I think it should be illegal for rent to be over $2,000 a month. You could be paying $2,000 a month for your apartment, and your next door neighbor, same model, same everything, could be paying $1,800 for the same model apartment as you. Or they could be paying more than you. When you renew your lease, it could go up by $9 or $900. And then you're paying $2,000 a month, but you will never own your apartment. You will never own it. I feel like rent should be like a fixed amount across the board. A 1-bedroom apartment anywhere in the United States should be like $800. A 2-bedroom apartment should be like $900. Life is unfair, but renting is 10 times unfairer.
There is not a single state, city, or county where a worker can afford a 2-bedroom rental at minimum wage. These are the updated stats for 2023, and even if we raise the wage to $15 an hour, you still wouldn't be able to afford a 2-bedroom rental home. And I'm sick and tired of seeing comments saying that a minimum wage was never supposed to be a living wage. Like, you don't know what you're talking about, bro, because FDR literally created it for that very reason. And it's not just minimum wage workers. 60% of wage earners can't afford a 2-bedroom rental. Does that sound like a sustainable system?
And
And that is it for this video. Please subscribe and hope to see you next time.